Welcome to the K3 Morning Show. I've got a jam-packed show for you today. Jay-Z is taking some heat for his freestyle clapback. Reid is under fire for comments that she made, and Arie wants to know if it's safe for her to come back in these internet streets. I have all that and so much more. This is the only place to start your day. It's K3 in the morning. Let's go. Good morning and welcome to the K3 Morning Show. I am the one, the only K3. I have a jam-packed show for you today. There is so much happening, so much news to get to, and we're going to cover all of it in today's show. However, let's take a moment to acknowledge the breaking news in politics, and that is the passing of Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina. Senator Graham's office made the announcement at like 2 a.m. Sunday morning, and I think the news caught everybody off guard. Everybody's waiting to hear what is happening with Mitch McConnell, and this news comes out of nowhere. Lindsey Graham was first elected to the Senate in 2002, where he served ever since. He has been a strong supporter of the current president, but he once warned Republicans that if they nominated Donald Trump, they would get destroyed and they would deserve it. So there is that. Let's get into today's show. This was not on my list of things to talk about. However, I saw the video clips on Instagram and I was so blown away. And that is the Aaliyah tribute done at the Essence Festival. If you have not seen it, definitely going to be worth your time. They were celebrating 30 years of Aaliyah's album, 1 in a Million. Missy Elliott was responsible for picking the lineup, and she did a fantastic job. The lineup was absolutely perfect. It was Chloe Bailey, Seven Streeter, Ryan Destiny, Normani, and Maya. It was so good to see Maya back in her element. She looked amazing. She sounded beautiful. The choreography and everything was pitch perfect. It is the best tribute that I have seen in a very long time. So if you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth your time. Shout out to Missy Elliott. That was amazing. And Maya, it is good to see you back outside, girl. Anyway, speaking of music, Jay-Z is taking some heat for his freestyle in response to all the criticism that he has been receiving regarding his partnership with Target. Because, of course, how did you think this was going to go down? Like, do you really think people were not going to say anything? I'm sure you did. Anyway, so Jay-Z, during his concert at Yankee Stadium, decided that he was going to take a moment out of his show to acknowledge and respond to all the criticism that he has been receiving from his partnership with Target. Take a listen to this freestyle.
And choosing a politicking as usual. They digging deep with narratives. It's embarrassing. They run out of characters, had to bring back up Cap again. My buddy took a check. I ain't even mad at him. But along with that check, got a sign of non-disparagement. I'm the one they can't control. Y'all better be glad it's him. Yeah. I'm the one they can't control. You better be glad it's him. $500 million back in the community. That's just good math for him. I don't listen to Twitter activists. They type and I laugh at them. There's really no comparison. Y'all check my stats again. I'm bringing folks home to their family. Laws get passed because him. You can like it or not. He don't do no ass kissing. Ex-drug dealer. You might not like the packaging, but my presence is the president. My gift is rapid. Oh, shit.
That was something. That was interesting. But Colin Kaepernick catching strays from Jay-Z in the year of 2026 of our Lord was definitely not on my bingo card. But here we are. I do not believe for 1 second that Jay-Z is not fully aware of why Black people decided to boycott Target. Target decided that they were going to roll back their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. That the money that they were going to invest in Black businesses, in the Black community, and with Black influencers, that they were no longer going to do that. So some Black people decided that they were going to stay out of Target stores until they decided to reverse their policy. And here we are, nothing more. But instead of Target reversing their policy, they decided that they were going to use celebrities and influencers to try and get us back in line. They first tried it with Jamal Bryant, and that didn't work. And so now they're trying to use Jay-Z to either get us back in line or to give Black people the permission that they need. If Jay-Z, a billionaire, is partnering with Target, then it must be okay. That's not how any of this is going to work. All Target has to do is reverse their policies, make the announcement, and I'm sure some people will drop their protests and head back in the stores. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. There's only one way for Target to find that out. But Target doesn't look like they're willing to do that. Maybe they're protesting as well. Maybe they're like, we're never going to change our policy back. And that's fine. That is okay as well. But this says more about Jay-Z, in my opinion, than it does about Target, because we literally expect this from Target. This is what we have known them to do. They are holding firm, and it doesn't look like they're going to let up. They're weathering the storm. With that being said, we cannot expect all Black celebrities to be activists. We cannot expect all of them to speak out. I do not expect all of them to speak out on any issue that affects people that aren't millionaires or billionaires. Some of them do, some of them don't. It is what it is. He does not speak for the majority of the Black community. Does he have a pulse on it? Maybe, maybe not. From that video clip, it doesn't seem like he does. A lot has changed. People have changed, and people want better. And now that we know, now that a lot of us collectively understand the power of the dollar, people are making different decisions. So if Jay-Z is not aware of what is happening, I think he's aware now after receiving some backlash from that freestyle. So on to the next one. Saw what I did there? Right. Speaking of celebrity activists, you guys ran Arie up off the internet because of her position on Young Miami's song Spin That, a song that talks about scamming and stealing. Arie was accused of calling for a boycott of the song. She was accused of being old-fashioned. They called her a hater. They said that she did not want to see another Black woman have a successful song. I mean, y'all took her through the ringer over this particular song. The BET Awards was over 2 weeks ago, and people are still having conversations regarding the song. And I get it. I understand it completely. I just don't understand why Arie took so much heat. She responded to somebody's comment on the song, basically explaining that I have been trying to tell people my entire career that music and the power of words has a direct influence over your life. Her songs, if you're not familiar with her, her songs are basically beautiful affirmations. That is literally what the majority of her songs are. But people accused her of sampling a song that it was pretty bad. I do not at all think she deserved that. But she also received a lot of love and support. And there were also a lot of people that did not like the song, said they won't play it. And I understand that. I get that. The song is not for me. It is not for a lot of people, to be honest. But people enjoy it. They call it a bop. Some people did not want this song to be the song of the summer. It topped the charts. And I'm not sure where we landed on this song being the song of the summer. I wouldn't know because the song is just not for me. And I agree with Arie and the power of a song and the words within that song being affirmations. It is a real thing. And when you know better, you are literally supposed to do better. And repeating a song, any song, and this is not the first time. Some people are acting like this is the first time a song has ever been criticized. People have been criticizing songs and lyrics and rap lyrics for decades. So this is not anything new. However, my first time hearing that song, it gave me the ick. It I'm sorry. It gave me the ick. But before you get all up in shambles and before you're ready to let loose, allow me to tell you why I personally don't like this song and why it gave me the ick. That just humor me. Because I know there are a lot of black women that came before NDRE, that came before me, that came before Young Miami to dispel the stereotypes that were placed on black women by white supremacy. It is literally that deep. Black women are labeled as aggressive, loud, uneducated. We are labeled as ghetto. We have a ton of kids, multiple baby daddies, con artists, you name it. And the famous one by Ronald Reagan in the 70s, referring to a black woman as a welfare queen. A lot of black women work hard to educate themselves, to show up in spaces where they were rejected, to be taken seriously, to be able to have a voice and have their voices be heard. There's a lot of women that did a lot of work to make sure that black women were taken seriously. One of those women rose to the highest platform in the world, and that is Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama represented black women as educated, smart, intelligent, classy. Her being in the White House told the world that this is what black women are all about. This is who we are. And this song, to me, it literally undid something just a little bit for me. And it does not sit right with me. I do not like it because it seems to me that those stereotypes that black women have worked hard to dispel was confirmed with a song like that. It is that deep. At least it is for me. So I agree with NDRE in the power of words. And if you don't think that that is the case, allow me to point you to JD Vance's visit in Milwaukee and what he talked about, the photo that he held up, and the things that he had to say. Take a look at this video.
And I want to point to this woman. Now, I want to be clear that the woman in the back did nothing wrong. But look at this woman in the front with the smug look and the Louis Vuitton bag. A woman who quite literally stole from young mothers who needed prenatal care, and the state of Wisconsin, ladies and gentlemen, had to scale down that program because of insufficient funds.
I do not believe for one second that that whole display was a coincidence. The issue with Young Miami and the song has been trending for the past 2 weeks. I do not believe in coincidences, and this is definitely not one. They are fully aware of what is happening, what is going on, and that song was confirmation for a lot of people like JD Vance. Let me read to you what he said. He said, "We're here to talk about fraud. We're here to talk about protecting your taxpayer money. Most importantly, we're here to talk about protecting the programs that exist that are funded by the generosity of the people in this room, and that ought to go to the people they're meant for and not to make fraudsters rich. It's a very, very simple principle." He got a lot of backlash from the Democrats in Milwaukee, but this is further proof of them paying attention and finding an opportunity to pounce on a specific group of people. This is what they do. They find the opportunity, they see an opening, and they take it and they point and say, see, we told y'all. That's why this song gives me the ick. If you feel differently about it, I have nothing against Young Miami. There are other songs that I have problems with, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about this specific song and this specific moment. And nothing more, nothing less. Arie, it is safe for you to come back in these internet streets because we'll hold you down. Some of us, a lot of us, we will definitely hold you down, girl. Let's get into some political news. Joy Reid is taking some heat for comments that she made regarding the Senate race out in Maine. Joy Reid, I really don't know what you were thinking, or if you probably meant what you said, girl. But let's listen to what Joy had to say.
So you need to replace him with somebody who is ideologically the same,
Basically
because that is what was decided. The people of Maine, the Democratic voters of Maine said, we want a progressive. They did not say they want an APAC moderate. So the Democratic Party in Maine ought to pick someone who is ideologically the same or ideologically similar as Plattner. If you don't, and the DNC shoves an APAC candidate down your throat, you have my permission to not vote for them, because the Democratic Party needs to learn that it is not vote blue no matter who. It matters who. They sometimes need to lose in order to learn. Sometimes when you lose, you learn. And I'm just telling you right now, if they put a little APAC, send Israel all the bombs, give Saudi Arabia all the money, let the UAE run over us and give Trump another plane. If they put another APAC sellout moderate in place of Graham Plattner, and they do not put somebody in who is his same ideology, you have my permission to stay your ass home. Then they will learn when Susan Collins gets 6 more years. At this point, we have to teach Democrats. We need to instruct them and teach them how to treat us. It's like being in a relationship. You got to teach people how to treat your ass.
You know, the good thing about it, 6 more years, if she gets in, she might go the way of Mitch McConnell.
Joy, girl, we are literally in this position because people found every fault they possibly could with Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris could not do anything right. Some people stayed at home. Some people wrote candidates in. Some people did a protest vote. So we literally are here because of the same thing that you're telling people to do. And let me point out this very, very important fact. We have less rights than we did in 2024. We have less rights than we did in 2024. And we're only in 2026. Black people in certain communities in certain districts has less voting power than they did in 2024. So if people stayed home in Maine and did not vote, you have to what exactly is it that they're going to teach the Democrat Party? Because we're the ones that's suffering. I'm asking for a friend. We are literally suffering right now because of people protesting, not voting. Kamala Harris was not the perfect, pristine candidate that people were looking for. And so a lot of people had a problem with her and just did not show up to vote. They protested and did not vote for her. And we're the ones that's suffering. And you can say the Democrats in Congress, they may suffer because they're not going to get legislation passed and they are not going to have the power. But let's be crystal clear. The people are the one that's going to suffer like we are right now. Girl, So if people don't show up in Maine and vote, they're going to get 6 more years of Susan Collins being overly concerned, and she's going to ultimately vote the way the Republicans want her to vote. So telling people to not show up to vote if they don't get what they want is super irresponsible. If people within the Democratic Party want certain candidates, they have to work for them. They have to donate money, donate their time, volunteer, talk about them, knock on doors for them, talk about them in group chats. I mean, that's how you get the candidates that you want. Bullying the party has never worked. That Graham was a flawed candidate. He was very flawed in the scandals that riddled his campaign, that ultimately took him out of the race, was necessary. But to say that he has to be replaced with somebody with the same ideology and you do not live in Maine, why? Why? We it's not necessarily vote blue no matter who. It's work for your candidate. Get them elected, get them over the finish line. That's what has to happen. That's how the party is going to change. Not showing up to vote is an insane strategy to teach a party a lesson. They're just going to be in the minority and not get any legislation passed. But we, the people, we're going to suffer like we are literally right now because people didn't vote for Kamala Harris. This is, I've never been so perplexed. Joy, I understand why people are coming at you. It checks because this was irresponsible. You don't even live in Maine. The people of Maine should pick the candidate that is going to work best for the entire state, not for a select group to appease them, and then they can't get that person over the finish line in November. That would be absolutely crazy, but I don't live in Maine either, so people shouldn't listen to me. But if you want your candidate across the finish line, you have to work for them. It's literally that simple. Whether they're progressive or not. If they are your choice, if they are your pick, you have to go out and work for them. Donate, give money, your time, energy, effort, all of that. In the meantime, please do not do what Joy just said to do. It's should not be taken seriously. Girl. More in politics. The Homeland Security sent letters to employers on Friday. With any administration, if they want to hide news or attempt to hide news, they always attempt to drop it on a Friday evening. But it says the Homeland Security Department on Friday informed employers that they must let go of all Haitian workers with temporary protective status as work permits for those workers will expire on July 24th. They're actually canceling the work permits. They don't necessarily expire, but this administration is canceling it. That's what they're doing. It also says that on July 17th, the permits for those from Ethiopia, South Sudan, Yemen, Somalia, and Syria will expire as well. This comes after the Supreme Court gave the Trump administration the green light to remove temporary protective statuses from people from certain countries. With this administration, I expect absolutely nothing less. The cruelty is absolutely the point. Taking away protective statuses from people simply because you can or you don't want them here. They're not committing any crimes. They're making honest living by working. They have homes, they have kids in schools, and you're just going to take that away from them simply because you can is just cruel on another level. Taking away these work permits is literally making them vulnerable to deportation, which means ICE is probably going to be involved some way or another. And I can see this being a complete disaster. All because this is what Stephen Miller wants. That is your political news for today. So let's talk some sports. The WNBA is underway, and I am so underwhelmed by this season. I am not feeling this season. This has been the worst season that I've watched in like the past 5 years. It's been that bad. The officiating, the fans, the players, it's literally been a train wreck. I'm not understanding all the trades, why people are getting waived, and the coaching has been on a preschool level. I just it has been a disaster, and there are a lot of people that has turned the WNBA into a popularity contest. I see if you are watching the WNBA and those games, stay offline. You do not want to get into a back and forth with these fans. Some of the WNBA fans are just they are committed to a particular player and they make it known. So it's less about the game and more about the players. But members of Congress sent a letter to the WNBA commissioner encouraging her to protect Caitlin Clark at all costs. That is not a joke. I'm going to read part of the letter here. It says, Caitlin Clark is transforming women's sports. She has inspired a new generation of young girls to participate in athletics and has become one of the most influential figures in the history of women's basketball. She is also the face of your league. Clark has significantly increased fan interest, driven record television ratings, and attracted new corporate sponsors for the WNBA. Millions of casual fans now tune in to watch her play. Unfortunately, what they too often witness is not simply aggressive competition, but repeated acts of unnecessary physical hostility and violence. Clark has been hip-checked, poked in the eye, and struck in the throat during games. These incidents go far beyond routine physical play, yet the WNBA and its officiating have too often failed to address these unacceptable incidents and hold players accountable. Recently, a player even appeared to endorse violence against Clark in a social media post, further fueling concerns about the culture surrounding these incidents. In addition, concerning reports suggest that many of these attacks against Caitlin Clark may be racially motivated. What's happening with me today? As commissioner, you have an obligation to ensure that every player competes in a safe and professional environment, both on and off the court, free from violence, discrimination, or retaliation. If discrimination or retaliation is occurring and creating a hostile work environment, we support any appropriate investigation by the Department of Justice, the Department of Labor, or the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. If true, such conduct could constitute violation of federal civil rights laws. Really? I have to carefully choose my words. I'm a Caitlin Clark fan. I have been since I saw her play her sophomore year at Iowa. But this rallying around her to turn her into a symbol, and I'm going to just leave symbol there, to turn her into a symbol for a certain group of people is absolutely insane. The WNBA has always been physical. This is nothing new. I think they're more physical than the NBA. But to single her out as being discriminated against, I expecting nothing less from these congressional leaders. They can do everything and pay attention to everything except what it is that they're supposed to be paying attention to. I think Caitlin can handle herself. I don't think she need congressional leadership to send a letter to the WNBA commissioner to protect her. I mean, like, who wants that, really? I have reserve the right to not really pay attention to what's happening in the W right now. I'm not really interested. I have been checking scores and checking stats, but for the most part, I've been trying to disassociate simply because I think the fan base has gotten way out of control. That is my personal opinion. I think people are doing too much. The online back and forth is super toxic, especially when it's directed at the players. Not everybody is going to play the way that you want them to play or do what you want them to do. And players do not deserve to be criticized because they're playing against a player that you like. That's it. It's too much. We have new fans that obviously does not understand how the game works or how the sport is supposed to be played. It's basketball. It's not a hug war. It's not a love fest. These women are competing to be crowned the best. They're competing for a championship. Let them play in peace and keep the online chatter to a minimum, especially when you guys are trying to go after players. It is so completely and utterly unnecessary and ridiculous to go after players that you dislike because of the way that they're playing against somebody that you're a fan of. Let's do better, guys. One can only hope. We can only dream. That is my sports take for today. Just a little bit on the WNBA. I'll be back for more. That is my show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. The only way to start your day is the K-Free way. It's K-Free in the morning. See you next time.